sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. Today, I've got Jason Marc Campbell, who's an author and a podcaster. And the name of his book and his podcast is Selling with Love. So Jason is coming to us from Bali, Indonesia, where he has moved and runs his business. We've got a bunch of questions for him. The reason I want you to listen today is to learn what the hell selling with love means. So, Jason, we're going to get there in just a minute. Oh, guys, hang on to the end because Jason's got a gift for you. If you hang on to the end, we'll tell you how you can get a free copy of the first chapter of his book and also a meditation that you can use thinking about your ideal customer profile. Hey, Jason, welcome to the show.
Walker, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely welcome. We're going to get to what the hell does love have to do with selling in just a few minutes, but take a couple of minutes and tell us how you got to where you are. How'd you get to be some sales trainer in Bali?
Yeah. Well, it all started when I was born. My mother and
Stop it. You're killing me.
No. So long story short is just always had love for sales. I always thought it was a fun thing. I'd sell cool stuff. People would love the fact that I'd sell it. And I was like, wow, I really love selling.
What kind of cool stuff did you sell?
Ooh, swimming pools was my favorite. I went into swimming pool retail, so people would walk in. I'd sell them a transformation in their backyard and entertainment for the whole family, right?
Nice. So it's not about a pool. It's about transformation and entertainment, right? Good.
That's right. Even before that, I always have this story I love to tell. When I was in high school, it was like this charity run that you'd have to do where you sell like these chocolate covered almonds and they were called the world's finest, which I think was, aggressive marketing, but I dig it. Door to door, just going, selling it
world's
for a toonie.
finest door to door almonds. How about that?
And,
chocolate almonds.
Yeah. And I'm calling them toonies. I am Canadian. So we had these $2 coins, right? So just collect those toonies. And people would be excited. People would be like, oh, chocolate, love it. We weren't as health conscious back in the early 2000s for me here, or 90s maybe. And then that was it. I always had this positive association with sales. Everyone's like, Jason, he's just that guy who loves selling. And then I realized this is not the reality for most. Worked in companies in personal growth development, sold a lot of meditation, spirituality, productivity, leadership, all those kinds of courses. And then I was realizing even in the company that I worked for, sales was a dirty word. People were like, oh, I don't like sales. It's uncomfortable. People had blocks about it. And I was like, people just told me like, how come you get so excited about sales? And to me, this association that I love sales and selling is love. Like this is where I know what I'm offering is so much more than what I ask in return. Of course, I'm enthusiastic about putting it in the hands of the people that need it. And so that's where it was born.
You're not one of these happy, no day could be better than today except for tomorrow. That's not you, is it?
No, it's not. It's
okay,
you got to be grounded in reality at least. But
I got to tell you, I hate the freaking happy. Can't be any better. If I were any better, I'd be twins people. That drives me freaking nuts.
Yeah, well, there's the reality of the work that goes into it. But I will say, just as bad as a happy is a negative victim.
100%.
Right. So
100%.
You got to be grounded in reality, but I love to be pulled by the positivity.
Yes.
I find that as a magnet you can put ahead of yourself, and that'll pull you towards better outcomes. And a big part of selling with love is just getting clear on what the impact of every sale you make.
All right. So let me dig in there for a second. So
yeah,
selling with love. I'm like, okay, this sounds kind of freaking cheesy. I think it's bullshit. Tell me where you came up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, looking at sales, right? You can come from different energies. I know. Hey, listen, I'm going there, but bear with me.
Okay, go, baby.
Hold
energy.
on.
All right, damn it. All right, go ahead.
All right. So here's how I define sales. Sales, energy exchange between conscious beings. Okay. If you're conscious and I'm conscious,
between conscious beings. Okay. All right. I'll buy that for now.
Energy is what? If I'm taking goods and services from you, it took energy to make that happen and to be available for me to purchase. if I'm giving you money, money is nothing but stored energy. Like if you look back at what money is like, guess what? Goods and services. If you don't want the goods and services that I want, I need a medium to store the value that I'm creating. That was money. That the greatest invention. Stored energy. Great. Now this is where I'm going to maybe lose some of the people, but hold on. I swear, if you could just hold on to this bar, you'll see
they're going to be there. Yep.
A part of energy is actually emotion, the emotion that you bring into the sale, right?
I believe that. And we're so far on the okay page.
All right. I'm glad. And I talk about the different emotions you can sell from. There's times we sell and it's just like we're feeling shame and guilt. Like this can happen either because you're just someone that hates sales in general, or you're selling a terrible product. Like if you would be ashamed of people knowing that you're selling this, like you probably have trouble selling it because you're like, oh my God, I don't want the phone to ring. Because I know how bad this is. And you're trying to escape the responsibility. It terrifies you to take responsibility for the sales. So you're just wishing for negative outcomes and you're sabotaging yourself and you're just a miserable salesperson at this space. Right.
And so do you think that comes from, do you think it's the product often that people are selling, or do you think it may be the company culture or what they're, I mean, it doesn't have to be just, we sell whatever insurance and I hate insurance. It could be, I hate the freaking company I work for, right? And these people are going to screw something up. As soon as we sell, they're going to screw it up in the back office, right? So that's another way that you might be selling from a bad place, correct?
Oh, 100%. And okay. We get tricky in sales, Sometimes if you're especially someone observing the culture, saying like, oh my God, look at this. These guys, like, they don't care. They don't care what they're selling. They're just like, go out, move that. These clients, we don't care about them. Just take their money. Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel good. It's either you numb yourselves to the reality of what's going on and you kind of get, fueled, which is another emotion. I call it the fear pride paradox. Like you learn the process of sales, but you don't really care about the impact that it has. You can wield the power, kind of like a little Sith Lord if you're a Star Wars fan, right? Because I can hey, if you give me, you give me a deadline, you force me to get into a scenario to sell, like I can tap into some energy. Like when you know sales, you are a powerful individual.
Yes.
You know how to move energy, move people. But you got to take that responsibility of what happens, because it's either if you're in that toxic culture that you're going to reject it and be terrible and try to find a way to get out because you're so ashamed of what you're seeing. And people in insurance that are in a bad culture are like, oh my God, I hated it. Like,
yeah, right.
But then either that or you're drinking the Kool-Aid and you're blinded to the reality of what's going on. Like, oh my God, what's happening to this person who just bought this? If I lied to them, I manipulated them, I overcharged them, I gave them a shitty product, but I decided not to care about that. That's their problem. They're a dumb buyer. I'm just doing my job. But then you're like, wait, hold on. You are a trained professional.
So this is like sales is a weapon, which is ridiculous too, right? And using some of the tactics as a weapon as opposed to a way to truly understand and to share information and to gather information, right? Use it to manipulate. And I know for some people, sales is manipulation and maybe everything's manipulation, but I feel like that can really come from the wrong place too, correct?
I mean, manipulation, I think, just comes back to intent, right? Because manipulation could be labeled empathy if what you're trying to do is move the person to a better place. Like as a great salesperson, you should be trying to find somebody with a problem and bring them to a place of a solution. And if you're using tactics to make them understand the value that you're trying to bring to them, I call that empathy. I'm like,
good.
Listen, I'm in Indonesia. Okay. People speak Bahasa Indonesian here. If I'm going around speaking English and people are like, they don't understand me better, and I'm getting mad because I'm not getting the results of what I want, am I blaming them, or did I realize I didn't learn the language that's necessary to be understood?
Very important.
This is what I see sales. Sales is a language of empathy. And what you're trying to do is make them understand the value you want to bring them. And so you can't blame the buyer if they're not taking action on something that's incredible, you know is going to solve their problems, and they're not buying. Well, you didn't learn the language.
Right. 100%. I think you're and maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case, but the language, but even if you have their language though, right? Sometimes it's just not the right time. And by putting pressure on somebody, again, in your terms, I don't think we're defining love, right? If we're pressuring somebody to tell us yes, even when it's the wrong answer, that is just being an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, again, the intent, right? Why are you pressuring them? Are you pressuring them because you got a quota? Because you got a commission? Is it about you or is it about them? It was interesting. I was on a sales call. I was just closing someone into my program. And while they were there and they're like, we finished, they're like, you know what? I got to sleep on it. Can you send me a proposal? Right. We've heard that.
Yeah.
And to me,
means
it's like, hey, I don't want to apply pressure. Yeah, they probably need a proposal. I'm going to go work and put together a beautiful email. Or do I know that I'm going to solve their problem? Like, am I willing to take the risk that is necessary because I understand them enough? My product is amazing enough, and I'm going to go and I'm going to use my weapon for good. So I just went to them and I said, listen, is it really because you want to get more information on the program that you want the proposal, or is there something else in hand here? And they're like, well, actually, it's because I really need these results by this date. I'm like, great. Why don't we put in the contract that you'll get those results or your money back and we can get started now? I pushed them. They bought it. Give me your credit card. Let's go. They bought it. This is pushy, but is it? When I knew that what I had to offer was so much more than what I'm asking in return, that's why I say it's selling with love.
Interesting.
Because you're really willing to take the risk because you know what you're offering is more than what you ask in return. So go make that sale. Just like if they would have said, you know what, here's the thing. I'm not getting a paycheck, or I'm getting a pay based on a bonus that's coming in 2 months. And if I would pay you for your product and service right now, I'd have stress putting money on the table, paying my rent the next month. And it's not a risk I'm willing to take. No problem. Let's see what we can do in a couple months. You listen to them. Sometimes there's valid reasons why they can't act now.
Absolutely.
But oftentimes there's words and there's excuses that we make because making a change is not comfortable. Making a decision can be stressful. And our job as salespeople, let's not call it selling with love. Let's call it selling with leadership, right? People want to be led. You want to take that responsibility. And that's why you go in with clarity. You go in with confidence and you go in with competence, because when you go to somebody, we always hear the story, like in a relationship, you're a man, I'm a man. And do you have a wife, a girlfriend?
I do have a wife and a couple of kids and no girlfriend I'm willing to talk about on the air.
There you go. So you have a wife, I have a girlfriend, and I've been in the situation, and I'm sure some of the listeners might be either as a woman that's listening to this, you might be on the receiving end. And if you're a man, you might have been on the other side here that you're going to hear, which is, oh, hey, what do you want to eat for dinner? Oh, do you want some Thai food? No, no, I don't want that. What do you want? And we start listing, and it's like we're like they don't even know what they want, right? And we start blaming our partner, and we make jokes about this. The meme, asking your darling to go out to dinner, but how did you ask it? What energy did you have when you ask it? Because if I go to my partner and I say, listen, honey, tonight's Friday and I want to go do something special. I made a reservation at this great restaurant that I'd love to take you, and we could get ready. Make sure your hair's done. Make sure you got that dress on. And by 7 p.m., we're heading there. It's going to be a great time. You will not have a problem with indecision. Nice. And if you're talking about sales and you go to your buyer and saying, listen, I've done the research on your company, on you, depending on what you're selling. Maybe you're doing this en masse. I don't know if you're a B2C or B2B, but let's say it's B2C. You have a target market.
Yep.
You have some understanding of what their needs are. So you could say, listen, based on the people we work with, typically these are the things they face. These are the problems they have. This is what's their situation. The person's going, that's right. You're saying, well, this is what we put together. This is how it solves the problems. This is how we know it'll work for you. Here's how it worked for others. And here's why I'd want you to start too.
Ta-da.
That's a good sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pushy, but it's loving.
So how'd you come up with this?
I don't know if I should tell you.
Come on.
All right. Well, I told you my story. I was always known as this guy that loved selling. And this was back in 2015. I was going to a workshop for public speaking. Mm-hmm. And do I dare to use the word channel, or I just
channel? But just go ahead and channel. Just go ahead. You've already been touchy-feely with me. So let's go ahead.
I work for Mind Valley. I work for Mind Valley, which is a personal growth development company. So we love all this stuff, right? Call it the law of attraction. Anything you want, it's good.
Yeah.
Listen, I was going to do a talk on public speaking, and I was just saying, I was like, everybody tells me I love selling, but can you actually sell with love? And it just came to me as an idea. I sketched it out for a talk, and at the beginning it was just a thing I did on stage for 5 minutes during a public speaking training. People were like, this was really good. I was like, I'm on to something. Then I went on to a big stage. It was called A-Fest. This was like 500 people, and like top level speakers were on that stage. They had 2 people cancel because of visa issues and flight. And I was just the AV guy. I was just a guy, helping out as a volunteer at the back of the room, working for the company. And I went to the CEO and I said, listen, I know you had 2 cancellations and you got a slot, and I've prepared a talk that's going to blow their mind. So give me a chance, put me on that stage, and I won't let you down.
How about that?
And it ended up being the best talk for 20 minutes on that stage that year. So something was resonating. People were loving it. You can find that one on YouTube if you see it. You'll see me barefoot with some colorful socks. It was a trend.
What was the name of the thing so people can look it up?
Yeah, just Selling with Love.
Okay, so that on YouTube. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Selling with Love on YouTube. You'll see the first thing. And it got like, I think 30, 40,000 views now.
Dude.
And so that's when it began. Then that idea, it needed attention, right? So I just kept, working on it. Then I made the decision. It's like, if you want to put your flag down, you want to be an expert in something, write the book.
Right.
So you can flesh out, do the research. And that's when I started really putting an effort into formulating this into a way that, I'm so proud of the message. I'm so proud of the feedback and the difference it's been making people's lives, that this is my thing. And this is what I advocate. And that's why I'm here. So
would you agree that sometimes the writing of the book is more important perhaps than the selling of the book? Because my idea is the writing of the book that does force you to flesh out your ideas. It forces you to do some research, if you will, or at least some research in your heart to dig out why you feel strongly enough to write a book.
Walter, you mentioned heart. I'm so proud.
See, I'm trying to be sensitive over here. And it's Walker, by the way. It's Walker. It's not Walter. So
that. Sorry, so, Walker. I'm sorry.
You're all
Walker.
good. You're good.
Listen, this is it. You just spoke about something special there, because it's so easy, right? Especially for sales inclined. Like, let's be clear. There's some people that are sales inclined, some that are not. If you're not sales inclined, you feel like you're at a disadvantage. But I don't think that's the case. I think if you're not sales inclined, you're usually inclined into some other capacity, which sure. If you develop that skill, you develop that, whatever it's a product, like you're more product focused. So if you build an incredible product, it's not that you should build it and they shall come, but have something of value, and you can attract amazing people that are sales inclined to help you. And I say that because, we could easily do a shortcut and just say like, hey, let's just sell a book. Like, let's just put together a quick ebook and just sell it, right? And let's not care about writing the product. You're missing out on the value of the book. You just mentioned it. For me, if my book wouldn't have came out, I still have my membership. I still have these challenges I run. I still have this course that I have that come from the way that I fleshed out my ideas, and I've presented it to people. I've had feedback. I had people critique it. For example, one of the critiques I've had about it was a man that works as an NGO leader. And he's like, Jason, who the hell's thinking about selling with love when they got to put food on the table and pay a rent? Valid point.
Yes.
Valid point. At the end of the book, I talk about privilege is what gives you the possibility to sell with love.
Tell me about that. What do you mean? Because privilege in the United States is now a bad word. What the hell do you mean?
Listen, privilege comes and is existing in our lives. I'm talking as a white male, you're a white male. Privilege exists, right?
Sure.
So then what do you do with it? Well, my advocacy around that is, if you have privilege, you have a responsibility that can actually lift the tide for everyone else. And if you're selling from a place of love, which again, I define as this, an energy exchange between conscious beings, and when you know what you offer is so much more than what you ask in return, that is the emotion of love. Now, if you keep doing this, you're literally making the marketplace more efficient. You're creating more value than the cost. And so you're lifting the tide for everyone else. So you have the moral obligation to step up to a higher standard of the way you sell, which is being clear on the impact for the buyer, being clear on the residual impact it makes for the world, being clear that there's a positive impact for you as well. And that's okay. God, do we need more role models of salespeople selling right, selling good products, and making the world a better place? I mean,
amen, brother.
Hey, they already are. They just don't wear the label of a salesperson.
Explain more. Tell me more.
Any person of influence and massive impact has sold us on an idea, a product, a vision. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, Marianne Williamson. I'm naming big names of different industries here, but Elon Musk is the most awkward dude. Like, you see him in his presentation and you're like, he's stuttering. I think he has Asperger's as well. So I don't want to make light of that.
No, he does.
But what's fascinating is, look, man is clear on the impact he wants to make. He has an understanding of the target market that he's trying to bring it forward to. And he's got an amazing product and he's out there, and it's not his, when he launched the Cybertruck, that was a highly orchestrated sales process.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It was fascinating.
Do you think he knew that the metal ball was going to break the window?
Great question. I don't know. I don't think so. But I think that the way he handled it is like when someone brings you an objection you weren't planned for, and you just go, that's a great question. Let me get back to you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. He didn't freak out. Oh my God, I've been had. He laughed it off and said, we'll work on that and continue on. He didn't get flustered.
See, I think that he is ultimately a showman. And I think had the window not broken, there would have been a third of as many people or less who would have talked about it. But I think that it's the old expression, no publicity is bad publicity. And it made people talk about the damn truck and remember that opening, whereas we might not have had that not happen.
I do not know, but I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah. And maybe what it showed a little bit, which people will disagree with, is that Elon Musk is a little bit human.
And
maybe
the Cybertruck can actually exist. Like,
yes,
it took it out of the fantasy realm and being like, okay, this is real. Well,
this thing is real.
Planning on throwing this brick through the sledgehammer in my window, but it's a pretty cool truck. It's almost like when you make, this is a sales strategy, right? It's like make a damaging confession about your product to build trust.
100%. Tell me more what you think about that.
I think it's great if you're clear on the impact and you're coming from a place of love. Like, listen, when I went to the person and I'll use that example again of the person saying that they want to get a proposal. Like, that's a pretty standard response, saying like, I could send you the proposal, but is that the only issue or is there something else here?
Right,
that's basically the process.
Yep.
You isolate the objection, right? Because you don't go solve an objection before you isolate it. So that was my method. I used a process. I manipulated him into finding out more about them. But again, what's the difference between manipulation and empathy is the energy you're coming at it from. Are you coming from a place of loving, caring, responsibility, leadership? Or are you coming from a place of, actually, I call it fear. Like, you have lack. You need more. You don't have enough. You want, you crave. Those are needy fear responses. Like, oh, I just need to sell more. There's not enough. I need to make that commission. Right. I need to be the number one. It's all about your needs. The way you come across is needy. And then you start using tactics that pushes people above the line.
Can you be empathetic and needy at the same time? I'm not sure you can. If you need something from the other person, isn't it hard? I mean, if you are in the moment, right, saying, I need this sale, can one sell with love at that point?
Yes. I had to think about it, and it's yes.
Tell me how you think that.
Vulnerability and transparency.
So tell me how that works in the selling with love process.
I'm selling a car, used car. You're walking in. I'm like, all right, Walker, listen, we talked about this car. I know you're excited about it, but I got to be really honest. This one came from someone that had a problem with it, and we did our best to fix it. I would love to sell you this car because, quite frankly, this is really important to me to make this sale. I have a commission that comes on this sale that's really going to support me. I'm going through some tough times. So I'm going to do whatever is necessary to work with you to either make you buy this car or whatever car is the best for you. And I'm really hoping we can make this happen. You can show a bit of vulnerability. Man, who hasn't had money struggles? As a salesperson, like, people like to do business with people they like, right? Like that's one of the triggers of influence, likability. If you can show a bit of vulnerability, people are going to be like, wow, I think I can trust this person.
See, I'm all about vulnerability. And I'm also all about, you know what? I want to show you this car, or I want to show you this, our service. And I got to tell you, our service is not perfect. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect, but I want you to, let me show you the flaws. Mm-hmm. Before we get started, here are the reasons that you may not want to buy this. I think that is it just shows you're telling the truth, right? It does show some vulnerability. Now, if you say, our stuff has some flaws, but I need the money, so let me find a way to make it worth your while. I feel like that's all of a sudden making it about the salesperson as opposed to... Yeah.
At the end of the day, the person doesn't care about you.
They don't give a shit, right?
It's what's in it for them, right? But, if you're in that desperate, needy position, you're going to want to do what's necessary to not be in that position, right? So
yes,
you got to sell the good product. You got to be transparent. You got to learn more sales. You're listening to these podcasts. You're improving your situation. Anybody who's consistently selling from a place of love, that's showing up to serve, they're the ones who rise to the top. They're the ones who are the top salespeople. Like when you see like the Wolf of Wall Street, these manipulators, they come up, they go down.
Yes.
Like you can be a cash grabber, but I don't think anybody's listening to this right now just wants to go out there, take money, leave everyone empty-handed, and be hated by all once you've made your little mountain of money.
No, I hope not.
You want to.
If you are, around, don't listen to my show anymore.
And guess what? Life's just not worth living with targets on your back. You know?
Yeah.
And so again, I'm encouraging people. Not everybody ends up in sales by choice. You know, a lot of people end up by default.
Yeah.
But then you got a choice. How can you show up with love? Right. And sometimes, you might be in a needy position. Does the person care that you're needy? Not as much. Can you come from vulnerability? It's not going to help you. But I don't think hiding the truth using like slimy tactics for your own needs and not being transparent about it is going to help you in the long term.
I agree.
And, you know, it goes back to what I was saying about privilege. You know, you might want to associate yourself with some, you know, if you're going out there, you're trying to sell in the best of intentions, you're going to find role models. And there's some people that are in a position of privilege that aren't facing this neediness, and they can sell from love, and they need to step up because they will see the results for themselves, and they'll start doing the sale of the good products and actually make a difference. And then people that might not be in as privileged of a situation, that might be in a more needy situation, they now are going to get examples from great sales leaders and realize, hey, I can do that too. You might be listening to this and saying, you know what? I can apply some of these tactics. Maybe I need to talk with my management, talk about the flaws on these products, and what do we plan to do as a culture about this? The culture here is toxic and they don't care. They just tell me to sell the product. Well, maybe if I show up with these kinds of values, there's better organizations that are organizations usually hiring good salespeople?
I would say all the time, right? Yes.
All the effing time. And you're just trying to rise above the average. You want to be the cream at the top. And I'm telling you, when you show up with this kind of energy, this is when people start noticing you. You start working in better cultures and you start actually selling things you're proud of. And you learn, you apply, and then you won't be so needy. So I know this is a bit of an aspirational answer, but in the immediate needs, I know it's not as easy to step into it, and I feel for you. But I know in the long term, if you're able to, you know, make those small choices, little decisions, caring a little more, being a bit more transparent, being a bit more vulnerable, you're inching your way out of that hole, you know?
Very cool. Hey, Jason, how do these guys find you? And please share the way that they can get a copy of the first chapter of your book.
Yeah, well, name's Jason Marc Campbell. Social media platforms, you'll find me. The website's jasonmarccampbell.com. But even more, I wanted to do a gift for everyone here, which is no BS, right? So if you go to sellingwithlove.com/no BS, it's all together, NOBS altogether, sellingwithlove.com/no BS. Here's what I'll do. I have a first chapter of the book of Selling with Love, which is actually Why You Hate Sales, is the title of the first chapter.
Love it.
And it just talks about the history, why most people have shame and guilt around sales, why they hate it, why they really just like avoid it like the plague. And on top of that, one of the best things I find about selling with love is actually caring about the impact you make for the buyer. So what I've included as well is a meditation. It's just 8 minutes. You close your eyes, you listen to this before you get on the sales calls, sales floor, or just get started with your day. And it's one that makes you visualize how you connect with the person you serve. And so that when you go out there, you care, you lead, you sell with love, and you watch the results.
Outstanding. So so you've already shared, and we'll have that in the show notes. Please check the show notes. Jason, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on this show. Let me close for a second. Guys, thank you for listening. No BS Sales Team, I hope you've enjoyed this and taken away some information that is helpful to you and will help you learn to sell with love. Please, if you have not, please do a review of my podcast on Apple Podcasts. Go there and tell Apple what you think about this show. The more reviews we get, not just the stars, but the words, the higher up we go in the ranking. We're already in the top 2% of podcasts, headed for the top 1%. So if you can help me with that, I sure would appreciate it. Hey, Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. You're the man. This has been really fun. I appreciate you very much. And y'all go buy the book.
Thanks for listening to No BS Sales School Podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the OBS Sales School podcast.